Hello, Uncle Spurt here, and today we're having a good odd squint at the Pixel Watch 4, which I've had tethered to my creaky old wrist for the past couple of weeks. The Pixel Watch 4 comes in two sizes. I've got the dinky 41mm version, which costs from £349 for the Wi-Fi model, or for a bit more cash you can upgrade to the larger 45mm model. But is the Pixel Watch 4 worth slapping on your arm? Well, here's my full review, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe, ding the all notifications bell. Cheers! Now, like previous Pixel Watches, the Pixel Watch 4 once again sports a lightweight aluminium frame. The dome-like design now pokes up even higher than before, so it is actually a bit of a chonkster, although it doesn't look or feel it thanks to the curvy pebble-like finish. Actually feels pretty slender, as you barely even feel it when it is strapped to your arm. Of course, I haven't really had much of a chance to test out the durability of the Pixel Watch 4. I haven't been scrambling up any rock faces or anything this past fortnight, shockingly. Although I did, last weekend, in sheer desperation, use that rotating crown to attempt to open a bottle of beer. Now, sadly, that screen is once again protected by a bit of Gorilla Glass 5, which is a proper classic. It's the same that was slapped on the original Pixel Watch. There are certainly more durable options out there, which I would expect to see slapped on a premium smartwatch these days. Obviously, quite a few of its rivals have sapphire glass, which is a lot hardier. And I do know quite a lot of people throughout the past few years who've had Pixel Watches with Gorilla Glass 5 displays that have scratched up under not a huge amount of duress. Maybe we'll finally get an upgrade for that by Pixel Watch 8 or something. And as usual, the casing of the Pixel Watch 4 comes in a small selection of colours, including champagne gold, matte black and polished silver. And apparently this generation is more easily fixable compared with previous efforts. So for instance, you can whip off the display, replace that if it does get cracked or scratched or whatever. So that's something. At least you can also apparently easily remove the battery and have that replaced if it is starting to degrade over time. Although frankly, battery life not the best even at full strength, but more on that later. And fully water resistant as usual, can survive depths up to 5 atmospheres. You can happily keep it slapped on your arm when you go for a swim. And the small fluoro-elastomer band that came bundled with my 41mm Pixel Watch 4 was perfect for my supernaturally childlike wrists. It's thankfully easy enough to do up and take off again, even for a cack-handed old souse like myself. And as well as the small band, Google has also kindly bundled a large band with the 41mm model, just in case you swell up or something. And as usual, you can quickly replace the straps if you need to. I say quickly, I'm not a huge fan of Google's twist and snap method. It would probably be a lot easier if you didn't bite your fingernails to bits like I do. Come on, you bugger, you know what you want to? Oh, fine, bollocks to you then. And of course, I'm assuming the reason they've got this proprietary strap system is because that means only Google's Pixel Watch straps are compatible. Now, personally, I've been testing the Pixel Watch 4 with it hooked up to the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, so as you'd expect, connection and syncing absolutely seamless. But no worries if you don't have one of them Pixel blowers, because all you got to do is download Google's Pixel Watch app onto your Android smartphone. Job done. This contains plenty of handy tutorials about setting up your smartwatch. You can fully customize the Pixel Watch 4, add in fresh watch faces for instance, changing the display settings, altering the modes, etc. But you can do most of this from the watch itself. More importantly, this is where you can set up the safety and emergency shenanigans. So for instance, turning on a bit of car crash detection. You've got that satellite SOS feature to help track you down if you get lost in the wilderness somewhere. Haven't needed to test that personally, because the furthest your Uncle Spurt ever strays is the local odd bins when I run out of Strongbow. Bit of fall detection and loss of pulse detection as well, which can contact the emergency services if it suddenly detects your ticker has given up. Now, the Pixel Watch 4's circular AMOLED screen is quite dinky in this 41mm model, although those bezels have been pushed further out compared with previous generations, so you do have a bit more viewing space this time around, which is certainly very much appreciated. It's the same resolution as before, 320 pixels per inch, so again, those visuals perfectly crisp, tiny text is legible. It's an LTPO screen, so the refresh rate scales from 1Hz for an always-on display all the way up to 60Hz, so reasonably smooth when you're scrolling through various menus, etc. Certainly as far as smartwatches go. And if you scroll up here, you've got all your various toggles and everything, including the brightness. As you can see, you've got adaptive brightness as usual, which I found does the trick pretty well, apart from sometimes a little bit too bright in lower light environments, but otherwise you can manually tweak it yourself. And on that 5th maximum level, this thing hits roughly 3000 nits, so powerfully bright, perfect for outdoors visibility. And the screen is reasonably responsive when it's wet. Swiping can be a little bit bulky, but then at least you've got the rotating crown to help out a bit there. Now for the watch faces, you've got a couple dozen pre-installed here on the Pixel Watch 4, so a respectable mix of analog and digital efforts. And most of these can be quite deeply customized as well by tapping the wee pencil icon when you're flicking between them all. So you can change up the colors naturally. You can even swap some of them from analog to digital and vice versa. And you can also change up what the wee complications do as well. Got quite an extensive selection of options here. All kinds of health burning stuff. You can slap on the date, your next calendar entry, fast access to some of your favorite widgets, all kinds of stuff. So yeah, great customization. My only criticism would be that there's not really many particularly arty or creative ones here. They're all fairly standard. A couple more artistic ones buried away at the bottom there, but that's about it. But of course, if you get bored of Google's selection, you can just have a hunt around on the Play Store, see if you can find something better on there. Now, wearOS 6 is intuitively laid out and a breeze to navigate as usual. You got the rotating crown, which helps you to flick through menus and apps as well. So flick this down in order to access all of your quick toggles, which is all your most important stuff you'll need to quickly activate, like a do not disturb. Good old torch feature for those midnight bathroom breaks. Flick that crown in the opposite direction and you can skim through all of your recent notifications, and the notifications handling superb. You can select exactly which apps are allowed to notify you inside of that watch app. You can fully read any messages you get on the likes of WhatsApp and actually respond right there through the watch itself. And this is easiest done simply by using the mic option, of course, and saying what you want to reply with, but the virtual on-screen keyboard does actually work surprisingly well for such a dinky, tiny little display. Even the swiping generally works pretty well. I really like how you can get an actual camera feed from your Nest doorbell, etc. right there in the notifications, so you can see whoever is lurking on your doorstep. The only problem is if somebody rings your doorbell, sometimes that live feed can take a good few seconds to pop up, by which point if your visitor isn't particularly patient, they might have buggered right off. Oh, and every morning, bright and early, you'll get the morning brief popping up in there as well, which basically just tells you how shit you slept, what meeting you have to actually leave the house for, and how heavily you're going to get rained on when you do bugger off out to really, pep you up for the day. And as usual, you can fully customize the haptics as well, setting the ring vibration, notifications vibration, and alarm vibration. And I gotta say, those haptics really have been booted right up the arse for this generation as well. I swear they're a lot more powerful than they used to be, so you get a proper full-on wrist rumble whenever you want to. Certainly not gonna be missing any messages. And then if you swipe left and right, you'll skim through all of your various cards, which are basically just mini widgets. You can tap one of these for a bit more information, like the sleep score shenanigans. Those cards fully customizable, of course. And then with a push in of the rotating crown, you can access your apps menu. Lots of great stuff pre-installed in here. All of the health and fitness related stuff, which we'll cover in a sec. And then all of your Google shenanigans as well, the likes of the Home app. This can be a wee bit slow to load at times for some reason, not really sure why. But as you can see there, you can toggle your smart lighting on and off. And you can also get a live feed from your Nest doorbell if you have one, and you can zoom right in if you need to. You've naturally got Google Wallet support for making payments, etc. And you can access this quickly with a double tap of that crown. I've just turned my screen lock off for this review, but you will need a screen lock on to actually use this. Just so no one Darren Browns your smartwatch right off your wrist and then goes on a shopping spree. And all the other apps I've tried on here have been absolutely fine. You got Spotify support as always. You can download tracks for offline listening. Just hook up a pair of buds via Bluetooth to your watch. You can enjoy it without having your smartphone on you. And that's perfect if you do go to the local swimming pool, for instance. You want to enjoy some music while you're doing your lengths, but you want to keep your smartphone safely stashed away in a locker. And I believe this still only works if you're hooked up to a Pixel smartphone, but you can also use the watch as basically a remote shutter button to capture a selfie or shoot a good bit of vlogging action. And you can also access recent apps with a quick tap at this top button here. And naturally, you've got full Gemini support built into the Pixel Watch 4 as well, and is just as fantastically useful as ever, especially if you're visiting a wonderful new place and you're hoping to get lathered on the cheap. Hey, I'm off to Prague soon. What are some good bars to visit if I want to drink lots of beer but not spend much money?
Try pubs outside the main tourist areas like in Zizkov or Vinohrady for cheaper beer.
And what's the strongest beer I can try there?
The strongest regularly available beer is the X-Beer 33, which is typically around 12.6% ABV.
Pah, a baby's drink. Yeah, the mic tends to pick up your voice pretty clearly, even if you're on a high street with lots of background noise going on, lots of other people chatting all around you and everything. And as you can hear, the speaker reasonably loud and clear as well. You will struggle to hear what is going on if, again, you're in quite a noisy, raucous environment, but just do a bit of that, you'll generally be okay. Works well for taking calls on your watch as well if for some reason you can't get your phone out your pocket or bag or whatever. And of course, once again, the Pixel Watch 4 has a good bit of Fitbit integrated as well. So if you tap the Fitbit app, you'll get a full readout of all of your various stats. If you scroll to the very top, actually one of the handiest ones is the readiness score. And this basically gives you an indication of whether you're ready to face life head on or whether it's going to give you a proper kick in the knackers. But as you can see, plenty of other shenanigans recorded as well. How far you've walked, calories burned, heart rate, resting heart rate seems to be fairly accurate on both of those counts. Blood oxygen, skin temperature, all the standard shenanigans that most smartwatches these days do cover. But by default, however, Fitbit is constantly checking on you like a fussy parent. We noticed you might have got a little bit stressed just then. What's going on, buddy? And then you could log how you were feeling at the time and why. And frankly, if I actually took the time to log every time I felt stressed or frustrated or angry or horny, I'd just never be off my watch. But as always, I do appreciate a bit of guided breathing when I am feeling a bit stressed out, complete with a lovely, more subtle version of those rumbly haptics just to guide you through it. Pretty good for those moments when I do feel like putting holes in my house using just my foot. And if you are into your exercise fitness type shenanigans, well, you've once again got just over 50 workout modes in total that you can choose from. You'll generally find something that equates to what you're doing, something similar enough at least. There's no boxing on here, for instance, but there is a martial arts option. There is a kickboxing as well if you're into that. Some of them are a bit random. Pickleball, anyone? That sounds very American. You'll get relevant feedback right there on your watch face during the workout, depending on what the workout is, of course, and then you can check back and recap previous exercise sessions right here in the Fitbit app. And yes, it is pretty basic stuff compared with what you'd get from the likes of a Garmin, for instance, a dedicated exercise tracking device, but it's good for the casual fitness fan. I would have liked it if the Pixel Watch 4 had measured heart rate recovery and stats like that, which are actually quite beneficial if you are trying to train up and improve your fitness, but whatever. And the Pixel Watch 4 seems pretty dependable when it comes to auto-tracking some of your exercise as well. All of these walks, for instance, were all auto-tracked. Rather accurately as well, it has to be said. And the dual frequency GPS tracking seems perfectly accurate here on the Pixel Watch 4 as well, although admittedly haven't put it through any extreme tests. I haven't wandered out into the middle of a jungle or piddled about near any massive skyscrapers recently. And just bear in mind as well, of course, if you want to access all of the Fitbit features, you will have to subscribe to Fitbit Premium, which will cost you a few quid each month. Otherwise, the basic exercise tracking shenanigans, that's all fine on the free model. You have to check Google's website just to make sure though, because inevitably I'll see all this and then it'll change about 2 hours after I publish the bloody video. And the sleep tracking seems reasonably accurate here on the Pixel Watch 4. I could generally detect when I woke up during the night and when I was in a deep sleep. After you've been wearing it for a couple of weeks, it sets up a sleep profile for you with such top drawer advice as, hey, drunkie, maybe don't smash back 5 espresso martinis before you toddle off to bed every night, eh? At which point I promptly ignore the shit out of it. And the performance has been upgraded for the Pixel Watch 4, so it's now powered by Qualcomm's Snapdragon W5 Gen 2, backed by a pretty generous 2 gigs of RAM. And performance on the whole is pretty good. Flicking through those menus and apps and everything's generally smooth, although you will see the occasional wee stumble here and there, and sometimes an app can take a few seconds to load for some reason. But overall, fine, and the battery capacity has been upgraded for this generation as well, from 307 mAh to a whopping great 325 mAh. So yeah, haven't really noticed any proper improvement in the battery life, unfortunately, for this generation. The Pixel Watch 4 will just about scrape by the 36-hour mark on a full 100% charge. That's if you're using the always-on display. You got all the fitness tracking shenanigans enabled, and you're tracking at least 1 or 2 exercises a day with auto tracking enabled. You know, even with power saver mode activated, you'll still struggle to hit sort of 48 hours. And, you know, a few evenings, for instance, I didn't get to do the sleep tracking because the thing was about to die as I was heading to bed. So I just slap it on the dock, leave it there all night. Of course, the 45mm model should fare a bit better as it does have a bigger battery. I haven't personally tested that out, but that should hopefully get you through a couple of days on a single charge. You got plenty of Samsung Galaxy Watch options as well, but I really recommend the OnePlus Watch and also the TicWatch, which again, full WearOS smartwatches, but generally last at least 3 or 4 days on a single charge. But hey, gotta say, I really do like Google's new charging dock design. If you happen to have this on your bedside table, it essentially turns the Pixel Watch into a mini alarm clock type thing, very mini alarm clock. And the connection feels a lot more stable than it used to with some of those older docks where it was far too easy for the Pixel Watch to just slightly slip and misalign and then no longer charge. Oh, and if you slap it on the dock but you forgot to actually plug the dock in, the good news is the watch will actually inform you of this fact. Stick it on there, as you can see, you get a wee warning message. Check to see if the charger is actually aligned and has power. I've certainly found that incredibly helpful because I have a lot of electrical gizmos that I need to plug in and charge. So a couple of times I've had to disconnect the dock. I've completely forgotten about it, slapped the watch on it, and I wouldn't have realized it wasn't charging if that hadn't popped up. And while charging isn't slow per se, it still takes just over 50 minutes to fully charge the Pixel Watch 4 from dead. So that's basically an hour every day you won't be wearing a watch. Oh, and yes, you can still access all of your apps and cards and everything while the watch is charging at least. So as usual, it is the battery life that is keeping me from recommending the Pixel Watch 4, certainly the 41mm edition at the very least, because otherwise I do rather like it. I do like the design despite the fact it is now uber-domed. I like the general WearOS setup and all the various features. Of course, if you're a hardcore fitness enthusiast, you will want to look elsewhere, really. But anyway, yes, that in a nutshell, kiddies, is the Pixel Watch 4. Be great to hear your thoughts on this bad boy down in the comments below. If you've recently got yourself one, what are your early impressions? Please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech. I've rounded up my favorite smartwatches in 2025 in a separate video, so go check that out for some of those alternatives, including the likes of the OnePlus Watch and the TicWatches with the improved battery life. Have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful rest of the week. Cheers, everybody. Love you.